Hey guys, welcome to the Sketch channel. Now, in the last lesson, we spoke about one point perspective, how to draw an object in one point perspective, and how you can see the left hand side of the object by drawing to your right. But today, we are going to take things a step further and we are going to learn how to duplicate a figure in one point perspective. Now, when it comes to duplicating figure in perspective, you need to remember that the size and the proportions of the objects are going to change with respect to where you're drawing the object in perspective. So, rather than speaking about it, let's just dive right in and see what is really going on. Right. So, step one, what we're going to do is we're going to set up, as usual, the horizon line. So, let me set up a horizon line. Okay, and now I select a vanishing point here. So, this is my horizon line. This is my vanishing point. Okay. Now, first of all, in order to duplicate an object, we need to create the object, right? So let's create the object. Let's set up the width over here. Again, you can follow along this tutorial with a pencil and a scale as well. You don't need to have an iPad or a graphics tablet. Okay, now let's create the object. I will create an object here. So this is the first side. And this is the back, right? Now, first thing that you need to know is when you're drawing an object in one point perspective, the length here, right? This portion, these lines, the horizontal lines, okay, have to be parallel. It's a rule. You have to make them parallel. Okay, so make sure that you draw parallel lines. Now, the reason for that is, of course, the proportions will be correct. If you don't draw it parallelly, you will get a solution, but it will not be the solution that you probably are looking for. So now that we have created the object, let us duplicate it. Now in the article I wrote on Facebook, I just explained to you how to duplicate an object in one direction. In this tutorial, I think we should see as many possibilities as possible. Okay, so let's start. The first thing you want to do here is you want to spot the center of this object. How do you spot the center of the object? You draw imaginary diagonals. So here we will draw diagonal. Okay, you can be as precise as you want. Let's just make it a little precise. Yeah, yeah. So you can see this is now my center. Now I will join this center to the vanishing point. Make these lines very, very faint. It's just for your reference. Okay. Now that you have your reference ready, let us see how we are going to duplicate this object. Okay. So we will start with this corner and extend a line through this. Right. So extend it and meet the opposite side here. Okay, now we're going to repeat the same procedure with this corner here. So extend it, pass it through the intersection and join. Right? Now we have these two new points that have been created. Simply join them. That's it. Now as you can see, this has now duplicated the object that you drew. So this is object number 1. This is your object number 2. And this has been duplicated in perspective. So rest assured, object number 2 is the exact replica of object number 1, just with the right proportions in one point perspective. Now let us try to duplicate uh, another object, the same object number 1, but in front of it. Okay, so the principle remains the same. We have the imaginary line going this way from vanishing point to the center. Just extend that. Right, extend that. Now in the last attempt we took these corners, right, in this attempt, in the second attempt, we're going to take these corners, these two here. Okay. Now, yeah. So as you can see now, if I pass this through this intersection, right, you will see that it goes beyond the canvas. Now, the reason for this is that as you come away from the vanishing point, so away from the vanishing point, the object tends to get bigger. Obviously, now if you look at the real world aspect also, when you're staring into the horizon, the things that are closer to you appear bigger than the things that are farther away from you. So a tree, if there's a line of trees that you're seeing, right? So if you have trees here, oops, yeah. So if you have a line of trees here, so you have one tree here, right? And I'm just gonna, yeah. So you have one tree over here. This tree, if this is you, this tree is going to look big. Now, if there's a similarly sized tree out in the horizon, like say here, right? Obviously, it is going to look much smaller than it actually is, right? So that's how perspective works. So the reason we are not able to make an object over here is because obviously the canvas is too small, and the size of the object we have taken is such that if you are to duplicate it towards you, it is going to appear a lot bigger than what it is. Okay, so when you're duplicating an object, you need to ensure that you take the size correctly. Now, how do you take the size of the initial object correctly? Well, there is no real way to find out. It is just it's basically trial and error. So you have to do this experiment, 10 times, 15 times to judge, how big your canvas is and how big of an object you can duplicate. Now, duplicating away from you, that is towards vanishing point, is easy because the object is just going to get smaller, so it will fit. Towards you is a little bit trickier. So I suggest you, choose the object size, the object one, of an appropriate scale. Okay. Yeah. Now, what if we want to duplicate it to the side? Right? What if we want to duplicate it to the side? Well, let's try it out. Let me just get rid of this. Right. Okay. Now I want to duplicate this object number one over here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw another line over here. Now this forms the width again over here, right? Now what we do here, we take the line, a horizontal line from the center of object number one, and we pass it on like this. Okay. Now what we are going to do is we're going to take this corner, pass it through here, and let it meet over there, right? And we are going to take this corner, so we have A and B, so we're going to take D and repeat this process. That's pretty much it. Now all you have to do is join these points to the object. So you have this object here, this object here, this object here. That's it. So you have now duplicated it in perspective sideways. So this is how you basically duplicate an object in one point perspective. Now in the next lesson, what we're going to do is we are going to now convert this object into 3D and duplicate that in perspective. So until then, I think you should repeat this procedure a couple of times, rewatch the video if you need to, right? Follow along. The procedure is very simple. It's just a matter of connecting lines, right, and then drawing out the shape. The process is also useful because you can do this once you get the hang of the proportions and your lines. You can do this without a ruler as well. You can just do a freehand duplication. It's excellent when you want to conceptualize an idea. Okay, so this concept is very important, and I suggest you watch this as many times as you want to until you understand it. And if you have any doubts, you can obviously communicate through the comment section, right? And I will be happy to clarify all your queries. So until the next lesson, this is the Sketch channel signing off. Thank you.